You have tried to quit before. Maybe it was the phone that you picked up every single night, telling yourself just 5 more minutes until 2 hours had quietly disappeared. Maybe it was the sugar, the drinking, the cigarettes, the anger that kept arriving uninvited no matter how many times you promised yourself it would be different this time. You made the decision. You felt the conviction deep in your chest. You deleted the apps, threw things away, made promises to yourself in the mirror at midnight. And then, 3 weeks later, you were right back where you started. This is not weakness. This is not a character flaw. And it is absolutely not your fault in the way you have been told it is. Because the real problem is not you. The real problem is the approach itself. The American approach to breaking bad habits is fundamentally, structurally broken. And until you understand exactly why it keeps failing you, no amount of willpower, no 30-day challenge, no accountability partner is going to change what happens next. Here is the story the self-help industry has been selling you for decades. Bad habits are enemies. Enemies must be fought. Fighting requires willpower. Willpower is a muscle you must strengthen through discipline and sacrifice. And if you fail, you simply did not want it badly enough. You were not committed enough. You were weak. This story is not just wrong. It is actively making your habit stronger, because every single time you declare war on a habit, you give it your complete and total attention. You make it the most important thing in your entire psychological world. You think about it constantly. You monitor it, fear it, brace yourself against it every single morning. And the brain, which cannot distinguish between what you desperately want and what you desperately want to avoid, simply reinforces the neural pathway you keep activating. The harder you fight, the deeper the habit digs. The more energy you pour into the battle, the stronger the enemy grows. You are not fighting your habit. You are feeding it. There was a monk in a Zen monastery in Kyoto who had struggled with a vicious temper for 30 years. He had meditated for thousands of hours. He had fasted, chanted, isolated himself from the world, and punished himself in every way his tradition offered. He had tried everything. And still the anger kept returning. Sudden, overwhelming, and deeply humiliating. He began to believe that something was fundamentally broken inside him. That he was beyond help. One morning, his teacher called into the garden and said something that changed everything. He said, "You have been trying to kill the river. You cannot kill a river. You can only learn to sit beside it." The monk did not understand at first. But he began to practice exactly what his teacher described. When anger arrived, instead of suppressing it or declaring war against it, he would simply sit with it. He would name it quietly inside himself. He would notice precisely where it lived in his body, the heat rising in his chest, the tension climbing through his jaw, the way his breath became shallow and quick. He would observe it the way you observe weather passing through a valley. Watching without judgment. Present without reaction. He did not try to stop it. He simply watched. Within weeks, something began to shift. The anger still came. But it no longer controlled him. Because the moment you create space between yourself and an emotion, the moment you step into the position of the observer rather than the participant, the emotion loses the single thing that gives it power over you. Your identification with it. You are not the anger. You are the awareness that notices the anger. And that one shift changes everything. This is the foundation of the Japanese approach to habits. And it is the precise opposite of everything Americans are taught. Where American culture says fight, Japanese wisdom says observe. Where American culture says eliminate possible steps. And it works for one specific reason that dramatic Western approaches completely ignore. The brain has a threat detection system. When you make sudden, dramatic changes to established patterns, when you announce you are quitting forever starting Monday, when you delete every app in one sweeping gesture, when you transform your entire life overnight, that system activates hard. Your nervous system reads sudden dramatic change not as growth but as danger. Cravings spike. Anxiety rises. The pull of the familiar becomes almost physically unbearable. And within days or weeks, you find yourself returning to the old pattern with even greater force than before. Kaizen works because it is completely invisible to that alarm system. When you reduce a behavior by just 1%, when you wait 5 minutes before giving in to a craving, when you scroll for 55 minutes instead of 60, when you drink one less drink this week than last, the brain registers no danger whatsoever. There is no resistance. There is no white-knuckling. The change slips through quietly while the nervous system sleeps. A woman in Osaka used this method to win the shopping addiction she had carried for an entire decade. She did not cut up her credit cards. She did not swear off buying things forever. She simply added a single 24-hour waiting period before any online purchase. One day. That was the entire intervention. Within a month, she extended it to 2 days. Then a week. Within 6 months, she found she rarely still wanted the items she had once been desperate to have. The urgency had quietly dissolved. Not because she fought it. Because she waited it out, one small invisible increment at a time. The third practice is the one Americans find most deeply uncomfortable. Because it asks something that our culture has spent generations telling us is weakness. Self-compassion. In America, shame is considered a motivational tool. We believe that if we feel badly enough about yourself, reach for the very habit that numbs that feeling, feel even more terrible, and reach further than before. The cycle does not end through more shame. It ends when you finally stop adding shame to the wound. The monks understand something about shame that most Americans have never been taught. Shame is not a motivator. It is a paralytic. It does not push you forward. It locks you in place while making you believe you deserve to stay there. When you slip up, and you will slip up, because that is what every human being on earth does, the monk's response is not condemnation. It is curiosity. What happened in that moment? What were you feeling before the habit arrived? What need was looking for relief and found no other way to meet itself? What can you learn from this specific moment that actually serves the next one? That gentle, honest inquiry, practiced without judgment and without shame, is more genuinely powerful than any amount of forced discipline. Because it builds real understanding. And understanding is the only thing that changes behavior at its deepest root. The deepest truth the Japanese monks carry is one that no diet program, no habit tracker, and no 30-day challenge will ever be able to sell you. Because it cannot be packaged. And it does not cost anything. You do not break bad habits. You grow beyond them. Like a tree that grows slowly around an old fence until the fence becomes completely irrelevant, absorbed, surrounded, made unnecessary by the growth itself, you develop new patterns that make the old ones no longer needed. You do not destroy the old path through the forest. You walk a new one, again and again, with patience and consistency, until the new path becomes easy and natural and the old one quietly disappears beneath new growth. This takes time. It requires patience with yourself that American culture has never encouraged you to develop. It demands the willingness to observe rather than fight, to change by one quiet %. Rather than all at once in a single dramatic gesture, and to treat yourself with the same genuine compassion you would offer to a close friend who was struggling and needed your support. You do not need more willpower. You need a completely different relationship with yourself. And that begins not with a battle. Not with a declaration. Not on Monday. It begins right now. With a single breath. A moment of honest observation. One small step taken not because you feel ready, but because you finally understand that waiting to feel ready is the oldest trap of all. The monks have known this for centuries. Now you do too.